thing, right? You were about to go in your second season as producing artistic director when the pandemic shut everything down.
Correct.
And I know that that was kind of a wait and see game for a while, but then
Well,
all of a sudden, yeah, go ahead.
sure. Well, the wait and see game was harder than some people realize because, the my I like to call her my partner in crime, our executive director, Kim Riley, and myself, we get along very well, and we're friends as well as coworkers, and I just adore working with her. And we also have the same work ethic and mindset. So our season was set the October before the pandemic. We were ready to go. All we
Wow.
had to do was just have, the marketing was set. We My partner Adam was in charge of the youth academy, and we had that set and ready to go. Like we, all we had to do was unlock the door, right? Um, as well as auditions. So we had the equity auditions, and as the pandemic rolled around, we didn't know what was going to happen. So we canceled the in person before equity did. We canceled the in person, and then we went to strictly submissions online, and we spent like 3 weeks watching everybody's audition video. And
Oh.
there's a director I was going to have come from California, and she was zooming in, and we're watching them shared screen 3-way, still thinking that we were going to have a season, and then April hit, and all for naught.
What was that like as your, you know, sophomore year kind of going into this, having to deal with kind of shutting your season down and not really knowing, because that's really, I mean, frankly, that's your moneymaker is the summer. And so
Yeah,
when you're shutting it down, how do you survive as a small theater, even as an equity theater?
as a small community theater, it's, well, first of all, frightened as hell, because the first thing in my mind was, wow, so I had 2 great years and I'm gonna get replaced. Like that
Oh,
was the first thing that jumped into my mind, because you feel like you're in it alone, not realizing initially that as far as theater goes, theater across the country has stopped. Theater across the world has stopped. And it's not just you, but when you're the head of a theater company, it feels like it's just you, right?
right.
Um, so that there were nights, I wouldn't say I cried myself to sleep, but I definitely could have,
Mm.
because I just didn't know what was going to happen. And then, well into August, we still had some sort of hope that there'd be some sort of game plan for equity. So I spent the summer filling out numerous safety worksheets to send to equity, um, trying to come up with fundraisers, trying to ask if people would be willing to come up and do a concert, even if it wasn't under an equity contract. Um, Thinking of staged readings, web readings over the web and the internet, and every week and every month we had a board meeting. It was, let's try this plan, let's try this plan, let's just try this plan. And by the end of August, when everything was a no, I personally felt just really defeated, and I was done. I
Yeah.
wasn't done with the theater, but I was done trying, I guess, to pull blood from a stone,
Mm.
Yeah.
and just had to come to grips with, this is not happening for anyone, and it's okay. It's okay that it's not happening for anyone. We didn't unlock the doors. We're not spending money on anything. I'm talking a lot.
I mean, that's the whole point. This is an
Yes.
interview.
but but yeah, it took a toll, and then I did pump the brakes personally, and it's like, I can't uh, keep trying to make something happen that's not going to happen,
Right.
especially when
And
it's
you,
it's out of our control. We have the
Right.
government, you have equity involved. If we weren't an equity theater, and lots of non-equity theaters are making some sort of art happen, but
mm,
I asked that question at what I asked the question, at what cost are you doing
right.
that, during a pandemic?
Hmm.
So I just had to let the powers be.
Yeah. And you did come up with kind of figuring out how to still have a youth program during the summer.
That we did do, and I have to give major props to Adam Tilford, who ran the Youth Academy, and he made that work. We went off site to a space that it's called the Waylingsburg Grange, affectionately known as the Grange. And they have a big, huge lawn and a tent. We used a giant tent, and we had two groups of kids, the seniors and the juniors, as we affectionately call them, and they had a lovely program that resulted in a video that they put together at the end that had scene work. They learned songs, they learned dances, um, they played theater games, and it was all outside, and it was wonderful.
That's
And they,
awesome.
That's amazing.
yeah,
That's great. I bet that was so important for them. I
I
bet it
think
just gave them
they
that
were,
release that they may have needed.
yeah,
Love that.
and some of them are characters, definitely characters.
Have been having this conversation, I feel like, with a lot of equity members, just that we know that the union wants to do the right thing and keep everyone safe, but maybe it's not listening to ways we could make it safe.
I have no problems talking about this because I just just had a staff meeting today. Um, so you're absolutely right, and I, being an equity member, I am pro union. I'm all about the union, um, which I think puts myself, and I'm not the only one. There are other artistic directors out there, but I feel like who are also equity. But I feel like it puts me in a unique position because what was happening over the pandemic was, um, and as if you're equity, you know, we get lots of updates from the union about what the progress was of researching reopening or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, as a producer, I was getting other emails from equity that I wouldn't say contradicted, but definitely was not telling the members what was fully happening. Um, and I'm probably notorious in one of the Actors Equity threads right now because for months on end, I asked questions, posted my emails, screenshots, and and a lot of union members feel very strongly that the union is doing their best and they're doing everything that they possibly can, which I'm sure is true. But as a producer, in my meeting today, I just went over the reopening packet, I guess, the resource material for producers and what will be required. And I think this was put out in November of 2020 before vaccines were approved and or distributed. So now, working for my season to see if I can open this summer, I'm working off of a workbook that, first of all, is outdated because people are getting vaccinated. There's much more contact tracing, numbers are falling. But I want to harp on the vaccination because the rules per equity right now to have a show are just impossible. Absolutely impossible right now unless you're outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand the need for that November of last year.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are about to turn the page into March, and lots of people are getting vaccinated. More vaccines are coming. More people are getting vaccinated, and I would hope that the union is revising this workbook so at least, if not Broadway, at least regional theaters can get back to work for the summer, because I think it's a possibility, and it's not as doomsday as it currently reads.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it is important to, especially with the regional theaters, a good friend of ours, Mikey, said, like, I think regional theaters are going to come back before Broadway does.
I've
But
always done that.
But that'll be a good thing. And I think what's important is focusing more on that small scale of what each individual theater can do and can, I feel like there needs to be a representative that works with these theaters to figure out what they can and can do safely. based on their theater.
Right. And you know, a part of the holdup too, um, last year when all the Michigas was going on, that only producers would know. A lot of union members didn't know, is that a lot of us lost our union reps. The
Right.
equity started furloughing people. I was emailing somebody who had been furloughed and I didn't know for about a month.
Mm.
Oh.
Until, you know, my email got bounced around and bounced around and bounced around. And also me being persistent, once when I wasn't getting the answers I needed or an answer at all, I went straight to Kate. I
Mm-hmm.
went straight to the top and sent her an email. And somebody eventually got back, but I think at one point they still may be. Don't quote me. We were down to 2 reps, and it was one for the East Coast and one for the West Coast. And that was it.
Oh.
Wow.
Trying to handle every theater in between.
Oh my goodness. I can't
So
even imagine.
when the union members weren't getting the answers that they wanted, and producers weren't getting the answers that they wanted, and then the SAG debacle coming into play with all that, there's no one in the office to navigate or to negotiate any of those things because everybody's been furloughed.
Right.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that information should have come out sooner than it did
Mm.
for our
Mm-hmm.
union